In 2025, there was this massive environmental law in California that, well, it effectively outlawed the backbone of global shipping. I mean, the heavy-duty diesel forklift.
Yeah.
And the standard expectation at the time was that this would just absolutely crush local supply chain.
Oh, completely. Everyone panicked.
Right. But the companies that survived, they didn't just buy new engines to avoid the fines. They took this green mandate and used it to totally rewrite the laws of commercial real estate and completely eliminate traditional maintenance costs. It fundamentally changed warehouse economics.
It is a phenomenal pivot. I mean, looking at the operational blueprints and the supply chain data we're going to explore today, what started as this strict compliance headache, it became the ultimate competitive moat for early adopters.
Welcome to today's deep dive. Even if you track supply chain logistics every day, it's incredibly easy to miss how a single compliance deadline, the 2025 CAR regulations, has so radically re-engineered the operations of massive logistics hubs.
Yeah, it really snuck up on a lot of people.
It did. And our mission today is to figure out exactly how that happened. We're pulling from a really fascinating stack of sources today. We've got strategic briefings, press releases, and operational memos from Southwest ToyotaLift.
Right.
They're a major material handling and forklift dealer operating out of the Mira and Jurupa Valley area in Southern California, which is basically ground zero for West Coast logistics.
It is. And the level of detail in these internal memos is striking. I actually have one of their high-tech warehouse facility blueprints pulled up behind me right now.
Oh, yeah,
and it illustrates perfectly how this transition impacted far more than just the vehicles themselves. Like, it changed the physical architecture of how these businesses operate.
Oh, okay. Let's unpack this. Because we are sitting here in August of 2026. A year and a half ago, the California Air Resources Board, or CARB, mandated a hard shift from internal combustion engines, meaning your standard propane and diesel machines, to zero-emission fleets.
Yeah.
So we are officially in what the sources call the active enforcement era.
Yeah.
The deadline is gone. It's in the rearview mirror.
Which means compliance is no longer this, localized regulatory box you can just check off.
Right.
Or a fine you can just absorb as a cost of doing business. Looking at the strategic briefings, maintaining a zero-emission fleet has become a strict, non-negotiable prerequisite for securing Tier 1 supply chain contracts.
So wait, if you want to move goods for the major global retailers or, like, tech giants, they were actually looking at your forklifts.
They are auditing your entire operation. Global partners now demand verified ESG adherence.
Environmental, social, and governance.
Exactly. They demand that before they will even entertain a bid from you. If your facility is running combustion engines, your emissions profile disqualifies you immediately.
Wow.
But the barrier to entry goes way beyond simply pleasing corporate auditors.
How so? Because, I mean, if I'm a warehouse operator and I lose a bid, I could just go buy an electric forklift tomorrow and bid again.
Oh, right.
Just swap the machines.
Well, no. The infrastructure realities in late 2026 make that almost impossible for the laggards. Yeah. The early adopters, the operations that fully electrified their fleets ahead of the 2025 deadline, they secured their local power grid capacity early.
Oh.
They worked with the utility companies, they got the massive transformers upgraded, and they got the charging stations installed.
I see.
So the operators who dragged their feet are now facing severe utility bottlenecks, particularly across Riverside and San Bernardino counties.
Wait, because there just isn't enough juice on the grid for everyone to suddenly plug in 50 massive industrial batteries at the same time.
Precisely. You can't just draw that much commercial amperage out of thin air.
Right.
The companies that successfully executed this pivot essentially locked up the local grid capacity. By doing so, they bypassed the wild price volatility of fossil fuels and the administrative nightmare of CARB inspections.
So it was like a massive, expensive game of musical chairs.
Exactly.
The music stopped in 2025, and anyone left holding a diesel nozzle lost their seat at the table with global logistics partners. They're just literally powerless to catch up.
Powerless, yeah, literally.
Yeah. But wait, let's follow the money here. Because upgrading an entire fleet of industrial machines to advanced lithium-ion technology is a massive capital expenditure.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking millions of dollars. If everyone is being forced to buy expensive electric fleets just to keep their contracts, aren't they just bleeding their operating margins to stay compliant? How does ripping out working diesel machines actually protect a company's bottom line?
That is the big question. And the Southwest ToyotaLift memos dedicate a massive amount of ink to this exact paradox.
Okay.
They detail what they call the hidden TCO dividend.
TCO being total cost of ownership.
Right, total cost of ownership. Around 2024, there was this prevalent industry myth that electric fleets were a financial drain long term. But the empirical data we have now completely invalidates that. Moving to electric actually insulates the company's EBITDA.
Okay, walk me through the math on that. How does spending that much money up front insulate earnings?
Well, it comes down to three distinct financial shifts. The first is energy arbitrage. Now, when most people hear that, they think of day trading stocks, right?
Exactly. Buying low, selling high.
Right. But in a logistics hub, energy arbitrage means actively managing when and how you buy your power. With diesel or propane, you are a victim to volatile global fossil fuel markets.
Yeah.
A geopolitical event happens and your fuel costs spike 30% overnight.
You just can't plan for that. And predictability is basically currency and logistics.
Exactly the point. Electricity operates on predictable time-of-use utility rates. Smart warehouses are performing actual arbitrage by utilizing their high-capacity lithium-ion fleets as energy storage.
Wait, how does that work?
They charge the machines in the middle of the night when electricity rates are dirt cheap.
Oh, okay.
Then, during peak afternoon hours when the utility grid is stressed and rates skyrocket, the facility halts charging. They run operations strictly off the stored battery power.
Wow.
So they are effectively buying energy at its lowest price and deploying it at its highest value.
That is brilliant. They are turning the forklifts into a buffer against grid pricing.
Right.
Okay, so energy costs drop and become predictable. What's the second shift?
Maintenance compression. We have to look at the anatomy of the machines themselves. Internal combustion engines are incredibly complex.
Yeah, lots of moving parts.
Exactly. They rely on controlled explosions, which generate extreme heat and vibration. That requires hundreds of moving parts to manage. Electric motors, by contrast, are remarkably simple. The fleet managers in the Jurupa Valley corridor are documenting a 30 to 40% reduction in overall repair costs.
A 40% drop just by swapping the powertrain.
Just think about what you are permanently eliminating from the ledger. There are no exhaust systems to crack and fail.
Right.
There are no massive cooling radiators overhauling combustion heat. And critically, there are zero hazardous fluid disposal fees.
Oh, yeah. Oil changes.
Right. You no longer have to purchase, store, or environmentally dispose of engine oil or transmission fluids. You are taking capital that used to be earmarked for reactive, dirty repairs and injecting it straight back into productive operations.
Okay, that makes sense. Fewer moving parts equals fewer broken parts. So we have energy arbitrage and maintenance compression. What else is driving this TCO dividend?
Productivity longevity, which is really rooted in the physics of the power source itself.
Okay.
Advanced lithium-ion batteries maintain sustained, flatline voltage. If you look at an internal combustion engine or even legacy lead-acid batteries, they suffer from a mechanical reality called performance fade.
Performance fade.
Yeah. As an engine gets hot over a grueling 8-hour shift, or as a lead-acid battery drains past 50%, the physical output of the machine degrades. The lifting gets a little slower, the acceleration gets a little sluggish.
Oh, I've seen this happen. It's exactly like an older smartphone.
Yes.
Like when you try to run too many heavy apps or the battery gets below 20%,
Right.
the processor throttles down to protect itself. And the whole phone just starts to glitch and drag. But a brand new device with an optimized battery, it runs at absolute 100% capacity from the moment you turn it on until the battery physically dies.
That is a highly accurate comparison. The modern lithium-ion forklifts deliver that exact same sustained 100% performance from the first minute of the shift to the final minute.
Wow.
When you multiply that lack of performance fade across 50 machines working 3 shifts a day, the aggregate gain in pallets moved per hour is staggering. If we connect this to the bigger picture, upgrading to zero emission is fundamentally a productivity hedge against operational drag.
So the fuel costs are managed, the maintenance costs plummet, and the machines do more work per shift.
Right.
But when I look at the geographic data for Southwest ToyotaLift and Mira, there is an even bigger, much more structural expense looming over these businesses. Commercial real estate out in the Inland Empire is astronomically expensive.
Oh, it's one of the tightest markets in the country.
Yeah. And I saw a line in the memos about using forklifts to solve a real estate problem. How does buying a vehicle change the lease on a building?
By utilizing a concept the sources call density as a financial lever.
Density, okay.
We have to think about the physical footprint of the older internal combustion machines. Because of their mechanics and the massive counterweights needed to balance them, they have incredibly wide turning radii.
Right.
Furthermore, you legally have to maintain massive open ventilation spaces just so the diesel exhaust can dissipate safely.
Meaning you literally have to lease empty air in your warehouse just so the machines can breathe and turn around.
Exactly. You are paying premium Southern California commercial rent for empty space.
That's crazy.
The new generation of specialized electrics changes the geometry of the building entirely. It allows businesses to avoid the massive capital expenditure of signing a lease on a secondary warehouse.
Okay, so how do they do that?
The sources highlight a specific brand in the SWTL portfolio called Aisle-Master.
What makes an Aisle-Master different from a standard forklift?
Well, they utilize an articulated mast.
Okay.
Articulated means the lifting mast on the front of the vehicle can pivot 90 degrees independently of the main chassis.
Oh, I see.
So the body of the forklift stays completely straight in the aisle, while the front end turns sideways to grab a pallet. This allows them to operate in VNA, or very narrow aisle configurations.
It's kind of like applying a cheat code to a game of Tetris.
Yeah.
Like instead of just trying to drop the blocks down the screen faster, you are actually shrinking the empty spaces between the columns so you can fit 50% more game pieces on the exact same screen.
That's a perfect way to look at it.
Yeah.
And that 50% metric is exactly what warehouse directors are reporting. They're increasing their pallet storage density by half within the exact same building footprint, simply by shrinking the aisles.
That is massive.
It drastically reduces their rent per pallet position. And for operations dealing with unusually long or bulky goods like lumber, steel pipes, or large furniture, the portfolio utilizes a brand called CombiLift.
Wait, how do you fit a 20-foot pipe down a narrow aisle, regardless of the forklift? I mean, it's 20 feet long.
By using multi-directional logic.
Multi-directional.
Yeah. Think about how a traditional forklift or even your car's steering works. You have to swing a massive wide arc to turn around.
Right.
A CombiLift operates more like a high-capacity hovercraft or, a shopping cart where all four wheels can turn completely sideways.
Oh, wow.
So the operator can pick up a 20-foot pipe, press a button to rotate all four wheels 90 degrees, and drive the entire machine sideways down a narrow corridor.
That is so cool.
It completely eliminates the massive dead space required at the end of every aisle for traditional counterbalance turns.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting to me. We have optimized the electrical grid. We've slashed the maintenance.
Yeah.
We have fundamentally redesigned the physical space inside the building to pack in 50% more inventory. But what about the humans? Like, if we're packing these warehouses tighter and running machines at 100% capacity all day long, aren't we just making these facilities miserable, high-stress places to work?
That brings us to perhaps the most surprising strategic shift detailed in the briefings. In the hyper-competitive 2026 labor market in Jurupa Valley, human capital is incredibly scarce.
Yeah.
Retaining skilled operators is a massive challenge. And the sources note that indoor air quality, or IAQ, along with decibel levels, have become primary metrics for talent acquisition.
I have to be honest, I'm a bit skeptical here.
Yeah.
Are warehouse workers really sitting down and choosing a physically demanding logistics job based on a company's corporate ESG goals?
No.
Like, are they checking emission targets before they submit a resume?
Not at all. And the memos are very clear to distinguish between corporate public relations and operational reality. This has absolutely nothing to do with reading a sustainability report.
Yeah, okay.
This is entirely about the immediate, visceral, physical comfort of the worker on the floor.
Okay. The physical toll of the actual shift.
Right. Think about the sensory experience of working an 8 or 10-hour shift inside a concrete box surrounded by combustion engines.
Yeah, that sounds rough.
You are inhaling microscopic exhaust fumes. You are dealing with the extreme ambient heat radiating off the engine blocks. And crucially, you are subjected to the deafening, constant noise of diesel combustion. The low-frequency physical vibration of those engines alone causes immense operator fatigue over a 40-hour week.
So it's the difference between clocking out with a pounding headache and ringing ears versus just going home normally tired from a hard day's work.
That is the exact distinction. What's fascinating here is, by removing the tailpipes, the facility physically changes. The air clears up, the ambient temperature drops, and the operation becomes vastly quieter. Operators aren't shouting over engine noise to communicate.
Right.
A clean, zero-emission facility is no longer viewed as a corporate perk. It is a hard labor retention tool. In Mira right now, skilled workers will simply leave a loud, dirty warehouse and go across the street to a modernized one. And if your turnover rate spikes, the cost of constantly training new operators will bleed your margins dry just as fast as diesel fuel will.
That makes total sense. The environment dictates the retention. So knowing all this theory is fantastic.
Yeah.
We understand the energy savings, the real estate hacks, the human element, but actually executing this pivot seems incredibly complex.
It is.
Like if I'm a warehouse manager, I can't just go online, drop an articulated multi-directional forklift into a digital shopping cart and plug it into a standard wall outlet when it arrives.
No, absolutely not. It requires a massive, highly localized support system. The infrastructure has to be engineered before the machines ever arrive.
Right, and this is where the specific sources for today's deep dive really show their value. Southwest ToyotaLift isn't operating as just a dealership where you kick the tires and drive off.
No, they're not.
The memos emphasize that they act as a critical infrastructure partner, providing a full-service life cycle. They curate a massive ecosystem based on the exact application of business needs.
The curation strategy is highly detailed. For instance, if an operation is running high-intensity 247 cross-docking, SWTL mandates specific Toyota electric models.
Okay.
Because beyond the sheer durability of the hardware, Toyota integrates what they call SNS.
SNS.
Yeah, SNS,
Sure.
Smart Environment Sensor Technology.
How does a smart environment sensor actually work in a fast-paced warehouse? Like, what is it sensing?
Well, it acts as an automated active safety perimeter. It uses advanced stereoscopic cameras and LiDAR to detect pedestrians and structural objects in real time.
Oh, wow.
So if a worker steps out from behind a blind corner, the SNS system doesn't just sound an alarm. It physically overrides the throttle and automatically slows the forklift down to prevent the collision.
That is incredible.
And this isn't just a safety feature, it's a financial strategy.
Let me guess. Fewer accidents means lower insurance.
Dramatically lower. Implementing SNS technology directly lowers a facility's total case rate for workplace incidents.
Okay.
Insurers look at that active mitigation, and it significantly reduces workers' compensation premiums.
Wow. The forklift's AI is actively negotiating your insurance rates down. That is wild.
It is. And then, for businesses that are in a high-growth scaling phase but maybe don't run 24/7, Southwest ToyotaLift curates Hangshaw electric fleets.
Gumshaw.
Yes, Hangshaw has pioneered incredibly fast opportunity charging chemistries.
Opportunity charging. Like literally plugging it in when you have the opportunity.
Exactly. Instead of swapping out a massive 2-ton battery at the end of every shift, which requires cranes and hoists.
Right. That takes forever.
Yeah. The operator simply drives the Hangshaw machine to a charging pylon during a 15-minute coffee break or a lunch hour. The high-voltage system rapidly regains a massive amount of charge without degrading the battery cells.
And because you aren't physically removing batteries from the machines, you completely eliminate the need for a dedicated battery charging room.
Which ties right back to our real estate lover. Older warehouses had to dedicate thousands of square feet purely to storing and venting spare lead-acid batteries. With opportunity charging, you take that square footage, tear down the walls, and turn it back into revenue-generating inventory space.
Okay, this is a brilliantly comprehensive blueprint. So if a local logistics business owner or a fleet manager is listening to this deep dive right now and they're looking around their facility realizing they are stuck in the past.
Yeah.
They are bleeding cash on diesel, their aisles are too wide, and they are losing their best workers to cleaner facilities. What is their actual first move? How do they initiate this ecosystem?
Well, the sources outline a very deliberate roadmap. Southwest ToyotaLift doesn't start by pitching a machine.
Okay.
They start by deploying technicians to conduct a comprehensive facility energy audit.
Because they have to figure out if the building can even handle the upgrade first.
Precisely. They map the localized grid constraints. They look at the transformer capacity, peak load shaving options, and conduit routing. They have to ensure the building can handle high-speed lithium-ion charging without tripping the main breakers or bottlenecking the local grid.
And once they know the building can handle it, what's next?
They navigate the bureaucracy. SWTL actively manages the Smart Rebates program. They have dedicated teams that capture state-sponsored incentives, like the Core Voucher Project in California, which drastically offsets the upfront capital expenditure of the equipment.
So they essentially find the grant money to help pay for the upgrade.
Yep. And to ensure the business doesn't suffer any downtime during the transition, they provide short and long-term rentals for seasonal surges.
So they audit the power, find the grant money, and keep the operation moving.
Exactly.
If you are operating anywhere in the Inland Empire and you need to future-proof your logistics. The directives in these memos are crystal clear. You have to connect with the team providing this infrastructure. Southwest ToyotaLift is located right in the heart of it all at 3725 Nobel Court in Mira, which is Jurupa Valley, California, zip code 91752. You can call them directly to set up that energy audit at 951-727-0477, or you can dive into their digital resources at wtoyotallift.com. That's cited Mira Loma and wtoyotallift.com/aero electric-forklifts. I highly recommend checking out their Google business profile as well to see the scope of their operation and exact location details.
Yeah, for anyone needing to survive and thrive in this post-CARB reality, that facility serves as the strategic hub.
So what does this all mean? Let's recap the journey we just took.
Yeah.
California forced a massive, highly disruptive green mandate in 2025.
Right.
It caused industry-wide panic. But by 2026, the smart businesses didn't just comply, they weaponized the regulation. They used battery technology to execute energy arbitrage. They slashed their maintenance bills by dumping complex combustion engines. They deployed articulated and multi-directional electrics to shrink their aisles and store 50% more goods in the exact same footprint. And they created a quieter, cooler, cleaner environment that physically helps them retain their best talent. It is a masterclass in turning a regulatory hurdle into an unstoppable competitive moat.
It truly is. And while we have covered the physical and financial pivot extensively today, there is one final concept pulled from the very end of these strategic briefings that I think points to an even more radical future.
Ooh, lay it on me. What is it?
The sources briefly detail a shift away from manual logbooks toward telematics-driven predictive health.
Telematics, okay.
Right. The forklifts are constantly beaming operational data back to SWTL's certified technicians. I want you to consider a future where, as the briefing implies, the hardware itself acts as the procurement officer.
Wait, like the forklift ordering its own parts?
Exactly. Imagine an entire global supply chain where the machine monitors its own voltage drops, realizes a sensor is beginning to fail, automatically orders the replacement part from the dealership, and schedules the technician to arrive during the facility's off hours, all before the human operator even turns the key.
That is wild.
When the machines begin negotiating their own maintenance contracts autonomously, unplanned downtime, which is the single biggest killer of warehouse margins, is completely eradicated.
Yeah, it's incredible. We started this deep dive thinking about a warehouse as this gritty, noisy, mechanical beast of burden. But the reality is the modern warehouse is rapidly becoming a silent, highly optimized computer processor. And the forklift is just the data moving through it.
Very well said.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for guiding us through this material today. As always, there is a whole world of innovation hiding right beneath the surface of the things we drive past every day. And there's always more to learn. We will catch you on the next deep dive.